For 17 months, Lucia Caminos was the only character Rockstar had actually named. Think about that. December 2023, first trailer drops, the whole internet loses its mind, and out of everyone we saw on screen, she's the one person Rockstar put an actual name to. Jason was there too. In that same footage, not named. Not yet. That's not a small choice, that's Rockstar telling you, from the very first 30 seconds of this entire marketing campaign, that this woman matters. That she's not a sidekick, not a love interest bolted onto a male lead, she's the center of gravity. So today, full deep dive, everything actually confirmed about who Lucia is, where she came from, how she ends up in that prison cell, how she gets out, and what her actual relationship with Jason is built on underneath all the Bonnie and Clyde marketing shorthand. I'll be upfront the entire way through about what's official Rockstar information versus what's community theory, because with a character this important, I don't want to blur that line for you. Let's get into it. Let's start where we actually started. As an audience, Trailer 1, December 4th, 2023. It opens on Lucia, prison uniform, sitting across from a woman in what looks like a correctional social worker's office. That staffer has a name too, Stefani, and she asks Lucia a simple question. Do you know why you're here? And Lucia's answer, paraphrasing the tone of it, is basically resignation. The only thing she had left to do was the time. That's our introduction to this character. Not a heist, not a gunfight. A quiet, almost defeated moment in a prison office. And I think that's such a deliberate choice because it strips away any kind of cool criminal mastermind energy right from frame one. She's not introduced as powerful. She's introduced as someone who's already lost, sitting with the consequences. For over a year after that trailer, that was basically all the world had of her. A name, a prison uniform, and a sense that whatever happened to land her there wasn't simple. Now here's the part I think is genuinely one of the most emotionally intelligent choices Rockstar's made with this character. Her official bio ties her imprisonment to, quote, fighting for her family. That's the actual wording Rockstar uses, and crucially, they don't tell us the specific crime, not what happened, not who was involved, not the details of the incident that actually landed her in Leonida Penitentiary. I want to sit with that choice for a second because I think it's deliberate, not an oversight. If Rockstar wanted a straightforward, here's a criminal, here's her rap sheet character, they'd have just told us the crime plainly. Instead, they gave us a motive without a mechanism, fighting for her family. That phrase does a lot of emotional work while telling you almost nothing factual. What it does tell you is the shape of who she is. This isn't someone who ended up in prison chasing money or thrills or ego. Whatever she did, it was in defense of people she loved. That's a very different moral framing than most GTA protagonists have gotten historically. Trevor's chaos was chaos for its own sake, mostly. CJ's story was about navigating gang life he was born into. Lucia's origin is specifically protective. Someone came for her family and she responded, and the consequence of that response was prison. We don't know who she was protecting specifically, whether it was her mother, a sibling, someone else entirely. That detail remains genuinely unconfirmed, and I'd treat any specific claim about it you see online with real caution. So let's dig into the confirmed background, because Rockstar's given us real detail here, even if a lot of specifics are still deliberately left open. Lucia grew up partly in Liberty City. That's this universe's version of New York, for anyone newer to the series. The setting of GTA 3, GTA 4, GTA Online's earlier chapters. That's a real, meaningful geographic route for her character, tying her back into the broader GTA universe, rather than treating Leonida as some completely isolated new setting. And her father, according to Rockstar's own official character bio, taught her to fight, not as a hobby, as soon as she could walk, is the actual phrasing Rockstar's used. Think about what that means as a detail. That's not, she took some self-defense classes once. That's a childhood where physical capability, the ability to protect herself and by extension protect the people she loves, was treated as essential, non-negotiable, baked into her upbringing from the earliest possible age. That single detail already tells you so much about who she is before we even get to the crime itself. This isn't a woman who stumbled into danger. She was raised inside it, prepared for it, deliberately by someone who clearly expected she'd need those skills eventually. While she was incarcerated, she was under the supervision of that correctional social worker we mentioned earlier, Stephanie, who appears directly in trailer footage. That's confirmed, a real, named supporting character tied specifically to Lucia's prison arc. And there's one more detail from her cell that I think is worth lingering on, because it's small and it's exactly the kind of small detail that ends up mattering in a Rockstar game. There's a family photo taped up on the wall of her jail cell, visible in trailer footage. Now, Rockstar hasn't elaborated on who's actually in that photo. It's speculative to say exactly who it shows. But the mere presence of it tells you something real. Whatever Lucia lost, whatever relationships she's carrying with her through incarceration, she hasn't let go of them. She's not someone who's mentally checked out from her old life. She's someone doing time while actively holding on to the people who matter to her, even if all she's got left is a photograph taped to a cinder block wall. Now, here's the part I think is genuinely one of the most emotionally intelligent choices Rockstar's made with this character. Her official bio ties her imprisonment to, quote, fighting for her family. That's the actual wording Rockstar uses, and crucially, they don't tell us the specific crime, not what happened, not who was involved, not the details of the incident that actually landed her in Leonida Penitentiary. I want to sit with that choice for a second because I think it's deliberate, not an oversight. If Rockstar wanted a straightforward, here's a criminal, here's her rap sheet character, they'd have just told us the crime plainly. Instead, they gave us a motive without a mechanism, fighting for her family. That phrase does a lot of emotional work while telling you almost nothing factual. What it does tell you is the shape of who she is. This isn't someone who ended up in prison chasing money or thrills or ego. Whatever she did, it was in defense of people she loved. That's a very different moral framing than most GTA protagonists have gotten historically. Trevor's chaos was chaos for its own sake, mostly. CJ's story was about navigating gang life he was born into. Lucia's origin is specifically protective. Someone came for her family and she responded, and the consequence of that response was prison. We don't know who she was protecting specifically, whether it was her mother, a sibling, someone else entirely. That detail remains genuinely unconfirmed, and I'd treat any specific claim about it you see online with real caution. Trailer 2. May 6th, 2025, gives us the actual moment. Jason's waiting outside the prison. She walks out. Ankle monitor already on her leg. There's this uncertain, almost awkward hey exchange between them. Not a passionate reunion, not fireworks, just two people who clearly know each other in a moment that feels genuinely real instead of cinematic. And then the Pointer Sisters' Hot Together kicks in over the cut. And suddenly, we're watching them tear through Vice City together. That ankle monitor detail matters, by the way, and it's stayed visible throughout trailer footage since she's not actually free. She's out, but the state still has a hook in her, still tracking her, which honestly raises the stakes on every single thing she does from that point forward in a way a fully clean release wouldn't. Every risk she takes with Jason afterward, she's taking with law enforcement quite literally able to track her location the entire time. Now let's talk about what actually drives her, because I think this is the single most important piece of Lucia's character, and it's easy to undersell it if you just focus on the crime and the prison stuff. Rockstar's official bio says more than anything, Lucia wants the good life her mom has dreamed of since their days in Liberty City, and this phrasing is doing real work. Instead of her mother's half-baked fantasies, Lucia is prepared to take matters into her own hands. Read that carefully. This isn't Lucia wanting something for herself purely selfishly. This is generational. Her mother apparently spent years dreaming about a better life back in Liberty City, and by the sound of it, never actually achieved it, just dreamed. Half-baked fantasies, Rockstar's own words. And Lucia has essentially inherited that dream, but she's rejecting the passive version of it. She's not going to just dream about a better life the way her mother did. She's going to go out and take it by whatever means necessary, legal or not. That's such a specific human motivation, and it's honestly kind of heartbreaking once you actually sit with it. This isn't greed, this isn't chaos for its own sake. This is a daughter trying to finally deliver on a promise her mother never got to keep for herself. Let's talk about her actual character. Separate from the backstory mechanics, she's been described, across her official bio and community analysis of trailer footage, as ambitious, sharp, determined, protective, and resilient. Prison didn't break her. If anything, by most readings of her character, it hardened her, made her more calculating than she might have been before. She's learned, apparently the hard way, to act smart instead of brash, which implies, pretty directly, that whatever landed her in prison in the first place involved some kind of impulsive, reactive decision, and she's not planning to repeat that mistake. She's also confirmed to be skilled with firearms on top of the hand-to-hand combat training from her father. So this isn't a character who's along for the ride while Jason handles the dangerous stuff. She's fully capable, fully dangerous in her own right, by design. And there's a real edge of ambition to her that goes beyond just Jason's version of wanting an easy life. Where Jason, by his own official description, wants something modest and stable, Lucia wants more. She wants the big score, the actual dream, not just survival. That gap between the two of them, we've talked about this in a previous video, is a genuine human source of tension in their relationship. Not a plot device tension. An actual difference in what each of them wants out of life. Let's get into the actual partnership because it's confirmed to be the spine of this entire story. Rockstar's official framing describes an attempted score that goes wrong, pulling the two of them into a much larger conspiracy across the entire state of Leonida, forcing them to depend on each other in a way neither of them necessarily planned for. And there's a genuinely poignant detail in how Rockstar frames each side of this relationship. Jason views meeting Lucia as something that could transform his life. For better or worse, we've covered that uncertainty in a previous video. Lucia, from her side, believes a life with Jason could actually become her way out of everything she's been trying to escape. Notice the asymmetry there if you look closely. Jason's uncertain whether this relationship saves him or ruins him. Lucia seems more certain to her right now. At the start of this story, Jason represents an actual exit, a path toward that good life she's chasing on her mother's behalf. Whether that certainty holds up over the course of the entire game, we don't know yet, but it's a genuinely compelling emotional setup. Two people, both using this relationship as their way out of something, without either of them being entirely sure it's going to work. Here's a piece of community speculation I think is genuinely worth mentioning, clearly flagged as theory because it's a smart read even if it's unconfirmed. Some fans picked up on the structure of Trailer 1 and noticed something interesting. It opens with Lucia in prison talking about bad luck landing her there. Then, later in that same trailer, we see her and Jason out robbing stores together, clearly already partners, already operating as a team. The theory is that Trailer 1 might actually be showing her story in reverse order, opening on her eventual fate, prison, before working backward to show us how she got there, rather than a straightforward chronological trailer. If that's true, it reframes the entire opening. That prison scene isn't necessarily where her story with Jason starts. It might be where it ends up, at least for a while, shown to us first for maximum emotional impact. I want to be really clear, this is fan theory, built on trailer structure analysis, not anything Rockstar has confirmed directly, but it's a genuinely interesting lens to rewatch that first trailer through if you haven't considered it before. Quick rundown on gear tied to Lucia specifically, and same caveat as always, some of this is confirmed to be tied to the Ultimate Edition specifically, so your access may vary depending which version you buy. Her character profile material has detailed specific weapons and vehicles associated with her alongside Jason's, though exact Ultimate tier specifics for her side haven't been broken down publicly with the same level of detail as Jason's engraved revolver, so I don't want to invent specifics that haven't actually been confirmed. What is clear is that she's built as a fully combat-capable protagonist in her own right, not a support character riding shotgun. Let's zoom out, because Lucia represents something genuinely historic for this series, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. She's the first mandatory, fully voiced female protagonist in mainline GTA history. Not an optional character, not a silent multiplayer avatar like some past female characters in the series' history. A fully written, fully voiced, co-equal lead, carrying half the emotional weight of the entire story. And the way Rockstar's built her backstory reflects that seriousness. A father who trained her to fight from childhood, a prison sentence tied to protecting family rather than personal gain, a release built on luck rather than merit, which she's determined not to waste, a mother's unfulfilled dream she's decided to actually chase down herself instead of just dreaming about it the way her mom did. That's a genuinely layered origin, built with real care, not just tough female character, add sunglasses and a gun. Rockstar's clearly trying to make her someone players connect with on her own terms, not just as the girlfriend character standing next to Jason. Let's be honest about the real gaps here, because there are meaningful ones left. We don't know the specific crime that landed her in Leonida Penitentiary. Rockstar's deliberately left that unnamed, only telling us it was tied to protecting her family. We don't know who's in that family photo taped to her cell wall, or how many family members she actually has, or what happened to them. We don't know if the backward timeline theory for Trailer 1 is actually correct. It's a compelling read, but unconfirmed, and we don't know how the Jason-Lucia relationship actually resolves. We covered in a previous video why I lean toward thinking they end up together rather than betraying each other, but that remains, and I'll say it again clearly, pure speculation on my part. What is confirmed: her Liberty City roots, her father's combat training, her imprisonment tied to protecting family, her release through luck rather than merit, her mother's unfulfilled dream driving her ambition, and her status as the true co-lead of this entire story, not a secondary character. So here's Lucia Caminos pieced together from everything Rockstar's actually given us. A woman raised to fight before she could really walk, imprisoned for defending her family. In circumstances Rockstar's deliberately kept vague, released not through justice or cleverness but through plain luck, and determined never to waste a second chance like that again. Carrying her mother's unfulfilled dream of a better life like an inheritance, she's finally decided to collect on herself, and now tangled up with Jason in a relationship that both of them are quietly hoping will be their way out, even though neither of them can be totally sure it will. For 17 months, she was the only name we had in this entire game. And, honestly, having gone through everything Rockstar's actually built around her, I think that early spotlight was earned. If you want the deep dive comparing her and Jason's arcs side by side once we know more, let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe for the next character breakdown, and for anything new Rockstar confirms about her before November. Appreciate you watching. See you in the next one.